Hello and welcome. Today we'll explore 5 chilling experiments that reveal just how complex and, at times, terrifying our minds can be. Join us as we delve into these stories that have left a lasting impact on the field of psychology. The Stanford Prison Experiment, a descent into darkness. In 1971, Philip Zimbardo conducted one of the most infamous and shocking experiments in the history of psychology in the basement of Stanford University's psychology department. 24 mentally healthy male student volunteers were randomly assigned roles as prisoners and guards. The prisoners were arrested at their homes, searched, stripped naked, disinfected, dressed in uniforms with numbers, and placed in cells converted basement rooms. The guards received uniforms, batons, and sunglasses. Zimbardo gave the guards minimal instructions, merely telling them to maintain order in the prison very quickly. The guards began to exhibit sadistic tendencies, humiliating and psychologically torturing the prisoners. They woke them in the middle of the night for roll calls, forced them to perform pointless tasks, and deprived them of food and sleep. The prisoners initially attempted to rebel, but soon fell into apathy and depression. Some began to show signs of severe stress and emotional disturbance. The experiment was supposed to last 2 weeks, but it had to be terminated after just 6 days due to the excessive cruelty of the guards and the severe psychological state of the prisoners. The emotional impact the experiment quickly spiraled out of control, demonstrating how easily ordinary people can exhibit cruelty under certain conditions. This story can evoke strong emotions in viewers, prompting them to reflect on human nature. Milgram's experiment, The Shadows of Obedience. In 1961, at Yale University, Stanley Milgram conducted a chilling experiment that forever altered our understanding of obedience and human nature. Participants, unaware of the true purpose of the study, were told they were participating in research on the effects of punishment on learning. Each participant, designated as the teacher, was instructed to ask questions to a learner and actor, and punish incorrect answers by pressing buttons that supposedly delivered electric shocks. The voltage increased with each wrong answer, ranging from 15 to a terrifying 450 volts. The learner was in a separate room, but their reactions, including cries of pain, were clearly audible through a speaker. At 150 volts, the learner began to scream in pain at 300 volts. They refused to continue, and after 330 volts, they fell silent. Despite these distressing responses, the experimenter, acting as an authority figure, used 4 prods such as "please continue" and "you have no other choice, you must go on," to urge the teacher to keep increasing the voltage. The shocking result was that 65% of participants, influenced by the authoritative presence, went all the way to the maximum voltage of 450 volts, despite the apparent suffering of the learner. All participants continued to at least 300 volts, revealing an alarming willingness to obey authority, even at the cost of another person's well-being. This experiment exposed a dark truth: most people are willing to inflict pain on others if instructed to do so by an authority figure. This story can provoke anxiety and reflection on one's own moral boundaries, highlighting how easily they can be crossed under external pressure. The Blue Eyes, Brown Eyes experiment, a lesson in discrimination. In 1968, the day after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., 3rd grade teacher Jane Elliott conducted a powerful and controversial experiment to teach her students about discrimination. She divided her class into 2 groups based on eye color, blue-eyed and brown-eyed. On the first day, Elliott announced that blue-eyed children were superior to brown-eyed children. The blue-eyed kids were given privileges such as extra recess time, second helpings at lunch, and the right to drink from the water fountain, while the brown-eyed kids had to use paper cups. Elliott praised the blue-eyed children and criticized the brown-eyed ones, encouraging the former to ignore and belittle their brown-eyed peers. The effects were immediate and profound. The blue-eyed children quickly began to act arrogantly and aggressively towards the brown-eyed children, who in turn became withdrawn and depressed. Their academic performance also suffered noticeably. This stark change in behavior highlighted how easily and rapidly discrimination can be internalized and acted upon. The next day, Eliot reversed the roles, declaring that brown-eyed children were now superior. The dynamics flipped, with brown-eyed children exhibiting the same discriminatory behaviors that the blue-eyed children had the previous day. This reversal demonstrated the arbitrary nature of prejudice and its powerful impact on behavior and self-esteem. This experiment showed how quickly and deeply children can absorb and reproduce discriminatory attitudes and behaviors when they are endorsed by an authority figure. The story of the blue eyes, brown eyes experiment can evoke strong emotions in viewers, prompting them to reflect on the roots of prejudice and the importance of empathy and equality. The Bobo doll experiment, a glimpse into learned aggression. In 1961, Albert Bandura conducted an experiment at Stanford University that would forever change our understanding of how behavior is learned, particularly aggression. The study involved children aged 3 to 6 and sought to investigate whether aggression could be learned through observation and imitation. The children were divided into 3 groups. The first group observed an adult aggressively interacting with a large, inflatable clown toy known as the Bobo doll, hitting, kicking, and shouting at it. The second group observed an adult playing calmly with other toys, ignoring the Bobo doll entirely. The third group, the control group, did not observe any adult behavior. After the observation phase, each child was individually brought into a room filled with various toys, including a Bobo doll, and their behavior was covertly recorded for 20 minutes. The findings were startling. Big children who had observed the aggressive adult were far more likely to exhibit aggressive behavior towards the Bobo doll, imitating the specific actions and phrases they had witnessed. They hit, kicked, and yelled at the doll, mirroring the adult's behavior almost exactly. In stark contrast, the children from the second and third groups displayed minimal aggression towards the Bobo doll, playing with other toys peacefully. This experiment provided compelling evidence that children can learn and replicate aggressive behavior simply by watching others. The emotional impact of this experiment lies in its unsettling revelation of how easily children can absorb and mimic violent behavior. For viewers, this story may evoke concerns about the influence of media violence on children and provoke reflection on the importance of modeling positive behavior. The Bobo doll experiment remains a powerful reminder of the profound effects of observational learning on young minds. Little Albert experiment. Conditioning fear. In 1920, John B. Watson and Rosalie Rayner conducted an experiment that would become one of the most notorious in the annals of psychology. The subject of their study was a 9-month-old infant known as Little Albert. Initially, Little Albert was exposed to various stimuli, including a white rat, a rabbit, a monkey, masks, and burning newspapers. Albert showed no fear towards any of these objects, displaying a natural curiosity typical for a child his age. The experiment took a darker turn when the researchers began to pair the sight of the white rat with a loud, frightening noise created by striking a steel bar with a hammer. The sudden, jarring sound caused Albert to cry. After several repetitions of this pairing, Albert began to exhibit a fear response to the white rat alone, even in the absence of the noise. The sight of the rat now made him cry and try to crawl away. Moreover, this newly conditioned fear generalized to other similar stimuli. Albert began to show fear towards other white, furry objects, such as a rabbit, a dog, and even a Santa Claus mask with a white beard. This demonstrated how a conditioned response could extend beyond the original stimulus to similar ones. This experiment starkly illustrated how fear could be artificially induced and generalized in a human being. However, it is now widely condemned for its ethical implications. The experimenters did not attempt to decondition Albert's fear after the experiment, leaving the infant with induced phobias that could have persisted into later life. Emotional impact. This story of the little Albert experiment can evoke strong emotional responses from viewers, highlighting the ease with which human fears can be manipulated. It serves as a chilling reminder of the ethical responsibilities inherent in psychological research and the potential consequences of neglecting these duties. These experiments remind us of the power and responsibility we hold in shaping behavior. Stay curious, stay empathetic, and continue to explore the depths of psychology with us.